Hi, I'm Adam with Let Us Try That. If you like frappuccinos, frappes, or blended coffee drinks as much as I do, then today you're in for a real treat because I'm going to show you how to make a delicious DIY keto-friendly frappuccino. To make this drink, you'll need some chilled coffee, ice, heavy whipping cream, xanthan gum, a keto-friendly sweetener, and whatever flavor you like. It could be vanilla extract, a sugar-free caramel syrup, chocolate syrup, whatever. So to make my frappuccino, frappe, or blended coffee drink, I'm going to be using my Magic Bullet blender. You can use any blender you want, but the cups that come with the Magic Bullet blender, that's a good size for a drink. So I'm going to start by filling this about 3/4 of the way with crushed ice. And that's going to come out to about 6.5 ounces of ice. Okay, so I've got my crushed ice about 3/4 of the way up, so about 6.5 ounces of ice. If you don't have crushed ice, if you're starting with regular sized ice cubes, you can do that, but with a Magic Bullet blender, you're gonna have to blend it a little longer because if you start with bigger ice cubes, it kind of shaves off the outsides. You end up with little balls of ice that clog up your straw. It's no good. You can blend it longer, but for me, it's just easier to start with crushed ice if possible. So I've got my crushed ice. Now I need to add chilled coffee. And I make some coffee ahead of time and keep it in a jar in the fridge so it's chilled and ready to go. I have multiple servings, so I can have one of these every day of the week if I wanted to. I don't necessarily have them that often, but if I keep this in the fridge, I've got it ready to go. I can have one of these whenever I want. So I'm just gonna fill this up to about the level of the ice. So it's again gonna be about 6 to possibly 8 ounces of coffee. Right about there. You can measure it out if you want, but I'm confident that I'll have enough room for the rest of my ingredients. And when I'm doing this, I make my coffee extra strong because the coffee to ice ratio plus the other stuff we're adding in, the coffee could be a little bit weak. So you could brew up a pot of coffee and then you can boil off some of the water to make your coffee stronger, or maybe you can use an espresso or something, but however you like your coffee, weak, strong, whatever, I make mine extra strong when I'm doing a blended coffee drink. So the next thing I'm gonna do is add my sweetener. Now, if you're using a flavored syrup, like a sugar-free caramel syrup or a chocolate syrup, that's gonna have sweetener in it already. So you can add as much or as little as you like to your taste, but I typically add more sweetener with these blended coffee drinks than I normally would. So for example, if I was just having an iced coffee, if there was a lot less ice and a little bit more coffee in here, I'd probably put about 2 teaspoons of my fridge is interrupting. I'd put about 2 teaspoons of my sweetener. I'm using a monk fruit and erythritol blend. It's a 1-to-1 sweetness compared to sugar. So normally, iced coffee, 2 teaspoons. When I make one of these, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because of all the ice or the xanthan gum or whatever other ingredients I add in, 2 teaspoons is just not sweet enough. So I go quite a bit sweeter when I do these blended coffee drinks. And I'll put about 5 teaspoons of sweetener in here. But again, if you're using a caramel syrup that's already sweetened, maybe you want to just add that and no additional sweetener, or maybe you add a little bit of the caramel and a little bit of the sweetener. You're going to have to play around with that. If you're following exactly the way I'm doing my recipe, we'll use 5 teaspoons of the sweetener. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that may seem like a lot, but trust me, with these blended drinks, they require more sweetener than just a regular iced coffee. So next we're going to add xanthan gum. This thickens it and it binds things together.
It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
That part's important. You don't want your ice and your coffee and your cream all separating. So this keeps everything incorporated. Once it's mixed up, it stays blended. And it thickens it up and it gives it a real nice, like a milkshake-like texture. The good news is that a little of this goes a long way. So we'll use 1/4 teaspoon, and that'll be plenty to give us a really nice, thick, creamy texture. So next we'll add some vanilla extract. Again, if you're using a flavored syrup, you don't need to use vanilla extract, but if you're following this recipe exactly, we're gonna go with a, excuse me, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now we can just top it off with some heavy whipping cream, and you don't need a lot. I'm gonna put about 3 tablespoons in. You could even go 2 tablespoons. The xanthan gum really gives it a nice creamy texture all by itself, but I like a little cream in there anyway. I guess I kind of like the lighter color. I like the taste of it being a little creamier. So we'll go with 3 tablespoons of the heavy whipping cream. 1, 2, 3. And that's all you need, but you could add this optional ingredient. I sometimes like to put some MCT oil in it. It doesn't change the taste, it's not required at all, but when I put even a teaspoon, sometimes a tablespoon of MCT oil, it helps me feel full and satiated. It's almost like a meal replacement. I can drink one of these with MCT oil and I can go for hours without craving anything or wanting another meal. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. I'll put, if you haven't used this before, go easy, maybe just a teaspoon or something to get used to it, because if you overdo it with the MCT oil, you might find yourself spending a little extra time in the bathroom. And that is pretty much it. So all that's left to do now is blend it. When I'm blending with my Magic Bullet blender, I like to tilt it. It seems to mix better. And then I kind of move it around to try to make sure everything's mixed. And I'm going to blend it quite a bit because I want to make sure all of the ice is broken up into little tiny pieces. So if I'm drinking it through a straw, I'm not getting it blocked with little bits of ice. So I think that ought to do it. And if you look at that texture, it's very thick. It's almost like a milkshake. And let me tell you, when you start drinking it, it tastes like a milkshake. It tastes like a coffee ice cream milkshake. It's really good. I'm gonna borrow the straw from my tumbler. Don't like to waste any. Try to get every last drop. But look at that texture. It's very thick. It's like ice cream. Except it's ice cream without any sugar. So you can drink this and it won't kick you out of ketosis. Very thick. Very good too. A nice thick milkshake consistency, and it tastes unbelievable, so good. And that's all there is to it. With this recipe, you can make a delicious, keto-friendly blended coffee drink at home. No need to go out and drop $5 at Starbucks. You can enjoy a delicious, tasty treat without taking yourself out of ketosis. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share it with someone else who might like it. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any future videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And the good news is a little of this